I never thought I'd be the guy who catches his husband with his ex-wife at our son's birthday party. But here I am, still shaking, still trying to figure out how I ended up here. Let me back up. I'm 27, my husband Peter is 37. We've been married for 3 years, together for 6. Peter is bisexual, I've always known that, and I've never had a problem with it. His ex-wife Allison is 37, the same age as him. They divorced about a year before we met. The divorce was messy, but I never pressed for details. I figured if Peter wanted to talk about it, he would. He didn't. We have a son together, well, I say together. Jack is 7. He was adopted after we got married, and I love him like he's my own blood because he is my own. I'm the one who reads him bedtime stories, who helps with homework, who shows up for every school event. Peter works a lot, so a lot of the parenting falls on me. I don't mind. Jack is my world. The one thing that's always been a problem is Peter's family. They're homophobic. Not in an aggressive, screaming way, but in that quiet, passive-aggressive way that makes you feel like a stain on the rug. They've never accepted our marriage. His mom especially is always making comments about how Peter should get back together with Allison, how she was real wife material, how I'll never be able to give him biological children. I've heard it all. Peter usually just shrugs it off and says they're old-fashioned, but I know it stings him. 2 weeks ago, we were at his family's town for Jack's birthday. We de-planned the whole weekend, cake, cousins, a bounce house in the backyard. Jack was so excited. I had done all the planning, all the shopping, all the wrapping. I wanted it to be perfect for him. The party started fine. I was hanging out with Jack, playing tag with his cousins, helping him open presents. Everything felt normal until I saw my mother-in-law on her phone whispering to one of Peter's sisters. Then the front door opened. Allison walked in. She was carrying a gift bag, all smiles like she belonged there. I felt my stomach drop. I looked around for Peter, but he wasn't in the room. I tried to stay calm. I didn't want to ruin Jack's birthday, so I just turned back to Jack and kept playing. I figured I'd talk to Peter later, ask why she was there, why he didn't warn me. But about 20 minutes later, I noticed Peter was still missing, and so was Allison. I told Jack I was going to get more juice and went inside. The house is big. His parents' place has like 4 bedrooms. I checked the kitchen, the living room, the bathroom, nothing. Then I headed upstairs. I checked a couple of empty rooms. Then I got to Peter's old bedroom. The door was slightly open. I pushed it open just enough to see inside. Peter and Allison were half undressed. His shirt was off. She was unbuckling his belt. I stood there for what felt like an hour but was probably only 2 seconds. They didn't see me. I backed away quietly. I closed the door as softly as I could. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I went back downstairs, put on a smile, and finished cutting the cake with Jack. I helped him open the rest of the presents. I thanked people for coming. I hugged his cousins goodbye, all while my heart was hammering so hard I thought I might throw up. Finally, the party wound down. Most guests had left. Then Peter and Allison came down. Peter looked a little flushed, but he walked over to me with this annoyed expression and pulled me aside. "Why did you cut the cake without me?" he said. "That was disrespectful. I'm the father. You should have waited." I looked at him. I didn't raise my voice. I said, "I'm sorry. I just thought you'd be too busy getting into your ex-wife's pants." He went white, completely silent. I didn't wait for an answer. I grabbed Jack, told him we were leaving early, and walked out. We went back to the hotel. I put Jack to bed and then sat in the bathroom and cried into a towel so he wouldn't hear me. The next morning, Peter came to the hotel. He knocked on the door, begging me to let him explain. I opened it because I wanted to hear what he could possibly say. He told me it was a mistake, that Allison had come on to him, that he was weak, that he regretted it. He said his mom pressured him into inviting her because she wanted them to reconnect. I asked him straight, Did you want to reconnect?" He hesitated. That split second told me everything. I told him to leave. I said I needed space. He left, but he's been texting me nonstop. Apologies, promises, begging me to come home. Meanwhile, his family is calling me dramatic, saying I'm overreacting, that it was just a slip-up, that I should forgive him because marriage is sacred. But here's the thing, Jack is confused. He keeps asking why we left the party early. I don't know what to tell him, and I can't stop replaying that image in my head, Peter's hands on her hands on him in the same bed where he grew up. I haven't decided what I'm going to do. Part of me wants to try to forgive him for Jack's sake. Part of me knows I'll never trust him again, and part of me is just numb. That was the original post. I wrote it 2 weeks ago, right after it happened. I got a lot of advice, mostly telling me to leave him. Some people said to wait and see if he was genuinely sorry. I decided to wait. Big mistake. A week later, I found out that this wasn't a one-time thing. Peter had been texting Allison for months, flirty messages. "I miss you. Remember that trip to the lake? You always knew how to make me laugh." That kind of stuff. I found them on his phone when he left it unlocked one night. He tried to say it was just friendly, just catching up. But the timestamps, some were sent at 2 in the morning. I confronted him again. He cried. He said he was confused, that his family had been putting pressure on him, that Allison understood him in a way I never could. I asked, "Understood you how? I've been your partner for 6 years. I helped raise your son. What does she understand that I do?" He couldn't answer, so I left. I took Jack and moved into a short-term rental. I filed for divorce last Thursday. Peter is fighting it. He says he'll change, he'll go to therapy, he'll cut off his family. But I've heard that before, and now his family has started showing up at my rental. They stand outside and yell things. "You're breaking up a family. God doesn't approve of your lifestyle anyway." Allison is the real mother figure for Jack. I had to call the police twice. Today I got a new message from Peter. He said he has something important to tell me and that we need to talk in person. I don't know if I should meet him. I'm scared. Scared of what he'll say, scared of what I might feel. That's where I'm at, still waiting for the other shoe to drop. I agreed to meet him. I told myself I needed closure, that I needed to hear whatever bomb he was about to drop so I could move on. Met at a coffee shop near my rental neutral ground. I left Jack with a neighbor. Peter looked terrible. He hadn't shaved in days. His eyes were red and puffy. He looked smaller than I remembered, like he'd been folding in on himself. He ordered a black coffee but didn't drink it, just stared at it. I need to tell you something, he said, and I need you to hear me out before you leave. I said nothing. He took a deep breath. Allison and I have a child together, a daughter. She's 5 years old. I felt my blood turn to ice. What? I didn't know, I swear to God I didn't know. She reached out after the party, told me she was pregnant when we divorced, but she didn't tell me because she didn't want me to feel trapped. She raised her alone, but now she wants me to be a father to her. I stared at him. So when you were upstairs at Jack's birthday party, you weren't just cheating, you were conceiving a second family. He flinched. It wasn't like that, she told me after. She said she wanted to tell me in person, and one thing led to another. I was weak, I'm weak. I wanted to scream, but I kept my voice flat. So let me get this straight. Your ex-wife, who your family worships, has a secret child with you. She waited 6 years to tell you about her, and the moment she reveals this, you sleep with her, and now you want me to be okay with this. I don't want you to be okay with it. I want you to forgive me. I want us to be a family. I want Jack to have a sister. I stood up. Jack already has a mother, me. I'm his mother, and I will never let you or Allison near him again. I walked out. He called after me. I didn't turn around. When I got home, I called my lawyer and told her about the new development. She said it complicated things but didn't change the divorce. She said if Peter wanted to be in Jack's life, he'd have to fight for custody, and given the circumstances, that fight wouldn't go well for him. I haven't heard from Peter since that meeting, but his family is still outside my apartment sometimes. I'm looking for a new place, somewhere far away, somewhere they can't find me. Jack asked me yesterday if we're ever going back to Daddy's house. I told him no, that we're going to find our own house, a better one. He asked if Daddy did something bad. I said yes. Then I held him until he fell asleep. I don't know what the future holds, but I know one thing for sure: I will never trust Peter again. And that's not a failing on my part, that's a consequence of his choices. I never thought I'd have to deal with a colleague stalking me to prove I'm faking my disability. But here we are, welcome to my life. Let me start over. I have a chronic pain condition. I'm black, I'm in my early 30s, and I live in Texas. I work 2 jobs because I like staying busy, and frankly, I need the money. One job is full-time, 9 to 5. The other is part-time, evenings and weekends. The part-time gig is an assistant coordinator position at a small nonprofit. I love my boss, Amy. She's understanding, she doesn't micromanage, and she respects my disability. My coworker, Casey, is a different story. Casey has wanted Amy's job for years. Everyone knows it. She's ambitious, which is fine, but she's also resentful that she hasn't gotten the promotion she thinks she deserves. When I was transferred to her location a few months ago to help with an expansion, she saw me as a threat. I told her straight up, I don't want the promotion. I'm happy as an assistant coordinator. I'm not competing with her. She didn't believe me. About 3 weeks ago, things started getting weird. I took a sick day because my pain was at an 8. I could barely get out of bed. I texted Amy and told her I wouldn't be in. Amy replied, no problem, rest up. That night, I got a text from an unknown number. It was a video of me walking out of my apartment building to get the mail. I was moving slowly, leaning on my cane. The video showed me hobbling to the mailbox, grabbing a stack of envelopes, then turning around and walking back. The caption read, "Look who's faking it." I felt sick. Someone was watching me. Someone was filming me. I contacted Amy the next day. I showed her the video. She recognized the angle immediately. She said, "That looks like it was taken from the parking lot across the street from your building, or maybe the bus stop." We checked security footage from the building's lobby. There he was, Casey, sitting in his car across the street, zooming in with his phone. Amy called him in for a meeting. She asked him point blank, "Did you film Sarah outside her home?" He denied it at first, but the security footage didn't lie. He eventually admitted it. He said he had been concerned that I was abusing my disability accommodations, that I was taking advantage of the system, that it was unfair that I got to leave early on bad days while he had to stay. Amy was furious. She put him on a final warning. She also wrote a formal report to HR, but Casey didn't stop. He just got smarter. A week after the meeting, I was at the grocery store leaning on a shopping cart because my back was killing me. I felt someone watching me. I turned around and there he was, pretending to read the ingredients on a jar of pasta sauce. I walked up to him and said, "Are you following me?" He put the jar down and smiled. "Just doing my grocery shopping, Sarah, same as you." I didn't buy it. I left my cart and walked straight out of the store. He followed me to my car. I could see his reflection in the window holding his phone up. I went straight to the police. I showed them the text with the video, the security footage from my building, and the new photos he'd sent. I told them I felt unsafe, that this was harassment. The officer was a white man in his 50s, and he looked at me like I was being dramatic. He said, "Ma'am, this seems like a workplace issue. Have you talked to HR?" I wanted to scream. I did. He was warned. He didn't stop. He shrugged. I'll file a report, but I wouldn't hold your breath. I was too exhausted to argue. Last week, Casey escalated again. He created a fake social media account and started posting the videos of me. The captions were disgusting. Watch the disabled queen walk without her cane. She's not in pain, she's just lazy. Faking disability is a crime. I don't even use social media that much, but friends started sending me screenshots. They were tagging me in the posts. I reported them. They were taken down within hours. But by then, the damage was done. People from work had seen them. The whispers started. Yesterday, Amy called me into her office. She looked at me with tears in her eyes. "I'm so sorry," she said. "Casey has been suspended pending an investigation, but he's threatening to sue for defamation." I asked, "Defamation for what?" "He says you're the one who's been faking. He says your condition is a lie and he's proving it. He's been gathering evidence." I broke down. I sobbed in her office. I showed her my medical records, my prescriptions, my doctor's notes, all the documentation I submitted when I started the job. She looked at it all and said, "I believe you, but HR might not have a choice if he files a lawsuit. They might have to do a full investigation." I'm scared. This man is trying to ruin my life because he wants a promotion, and I'm the one being put on trial. I have a lawyer now. She says if Casey goes ahead with the defamation suit, we'll countersue for invasion of privacy, stalking, and harassment. She says we have a strong case, but it will take months, maybe years. I can't afford that emotionally or financially. Meanwhile, Casey is still following me. I saw his car outside my building this morning. I called the police again. They said they'd send a patrol car. No one came. I'm tired. I'm in pain, and I'm afraid to leave my own home. I don't want to quit my job. I love my work and I love Amy, but I don't think I can keep going like this. If anyone has been through something like this, please tell me what to do. I'm losing my mind. And then there's the ex who comes crawling back. I never thought I'd be one of those stories, but here we are. My name's not important. I'm 27, and until January of this year, I'd spent 9 years of my life with Nate. 9 years. We started dating in high school when I was 18 and he was 17. We were those kids everyone thought would get married. We made plans, we built a life, we survived his parents disowning him for 3 years over his college choice. I worked 2 jobs to support him while he studied. I helped him through depression. I kept his grades up. I did everything for him. And he let me. His parents eventually came around, started paying for his tuition and rent again. We moved into a nicer apartment. He told me to quit my job, said it was his turn to take care of me. I didn't quit, but I cut back. For 16 months, everything was great. He spoiled me. We were happy, or at least I was. Then in December, he did a complete 180. He love-bombed me like crazy. He made Christmas magical. He booked a fancy dinner, bought me gifts I didn't expect, kept whispering about how I was his first love, how I'd been there since high school, how he couldn't imagine life without me. I honestly thought he was going to propose on January 2nd. That's what everyone thought. My friends were texting me asking if I'd picked out a ring. I told them to calm down, but inside I was giddy. On January 2nd, he made my favorite dinner, steak, mashed potatoes, asparagus. He lit candles, he poured wine. He gave this long speech about how much I meant to him, how I'd supported him through everything, how I was his rock. I sat there with a smile on my face, waiting for the punchline, waiting for him to get down on one knee. He didn't. Instead, he said, "I don't see you as my wife, I see you as a girlfriend, and I think we need to break up." I didn't scream, I just sat there, fork halfway to my mouth, staring at him. He kept talking, trying to sugarcoat it, saying it wasn't me, it was him, that I deserved someone who could see me as more. I don't remember much after that. I just remember putting my fork down, standing up, and walking out the door. I didn't cry until I got into my car. That was January. I spent the next 3 months in a fog. I moved out of our apartment, found a tiny studio, and tried to rebuild my life. I deleted his number. I blocked him on social media. I told my friends not to give me updates. I didn't want to know what he was doing or who he was with. But then last week I got a message from a number I didn't recognize. It was him. He said, "I need to talk to you. I need to get something off my chest. Can we meet?" I almost deleted it, but curiosity got the better of me. I told myself it would give me closure, so I agreed to meet him at a coffee shop near my old apartment. Stupid, I know, but I went. He looked different, tired, worn down. His eyes were puffy like he'd been crying. He sat down across from me and said, "Thank you for coming." I said, "What do you want, Nate?" He took a deep breath. "I need to tell you the truth, the real reason I broke up with you." I rolled my eyes. "You already told me I wasn't wife material." "No," he said, "that was a lie. The real reason is that I fell for someone else, a coworker. I was in love with her. I thought she was the one." I felt my blood go cold. "You cheated on me." "No," he said quickly, "I didn't cheat. I fell for her, and I thought if I broke up with you I could be with her. So I ended things with you and I told her how I felt." And he looked down at the table. She laughed at me. She called me a piece of trash. She told me to never speak to her again. She said I was pathetic. I wanted to laugh. I wanted to scream. Instead, I just sat there staring at him. He continued. "I realized I made the biggest mistake of my life. You were everything. You were the one who was there for me. You were the one who worked 2 jobs. You were the one who helped me through depression. I threw it all away for a woman who didn't even know my name. So now you want me back?" He nodded. "I want to try again. I want to prove to you that I've changed. I want to be the man you deserve." I shook my head. "You dumped me 3 months ago. You told me I wasn't wife material, and now you want to get back together because the woman you left me for rejected you. That's not love, that's desperation." He reached for my hand. I pulled it away. Please, he said. I know I messed up, but I can make it right. I love you. I've always loved you. Do you even hear yourself? I said. You ended a 9-year relationship because you thought you had a chance with someone else. And when that didn't work out, you came crawling back. That's not love. That's using me as a backup plan. He didn't have an answer. I stood up. I'm done, Nate. I gave you 9 years of my life. I built you up. I carried you. And you threw it all away for a fantasy. I deserve better than that, not because I'm wife material, but because I'm a person who deserves to be chosen first, not second. I walked out. He called after me. I didn't turn around. That was 3 days ago. He's been texting me nonstop, calling from different numbers, showing up at my apartment, leaving notes on my door. I filed a police report, but they said it's a civil matter since he hasn't threatened me. I changed my locks. I'm thinking about moving again. Yesterday, I found out from a mutual friend that he's been telling people we're working things out. He's been posting old photos of us on social media, captions like "miss this" and "can't wait to get back to what we had." I've reported them, but they stay up. I don't know what to do. Part of me feels guilty, like I should give him another chance because we had 9 years. But the other part of me knows I'll never trust him again. He showed me exactly where I stand on his priority list. And that list has me somewhere near the bottom. I'm not going back. I deserve someone who chooses me first, not someone who settles for me because his first choice didn't work out. That's what I keep telling myself. But at night when I'm alone in my studio, I wonder if I'm making a mistake, if maybe people can change, if maybe he really did learn his lesson. And then I remember the look in his eyes when he told me I wasn't wife material. And I remember that it's not my job to teach him how to be a good person. I'm going to be okay. I just need time and distance. And a lot of therapy. I never thought I'd share this, but reading about that breakup made me realize how many of us have been blindsided by the people we trusted most. Except in my case, the person who broke me wasn't a boyfriend who found someone else, it was my own husband. And the other woman wasn't some random coworker, it was his ex-wife. I'm a 27-year-old guy and I've been married to Peter for 3 years, together for 6. He's 37, bisexual, and has an ex-wife named Allison. They divorced a year before we met and I thought that chapter was closed. We adopted a son, Jack, when he was 5. He's 7 now and I love him like he's my own blood. He calls me dad. We're a family, but Peter's family never accepted me. They're homophobic, plain and simple. They were always telling Peter he should get back together with Allison, that I was just a phase, that he needed to come back to the light. I put up with it because I loved him and because Jack deserved to know his grandparents. We'd go to their town for holidays and I'd grit my teeth through the passive-aggressive comments. Jack's 7th birthday was on September 13th, 2024. We drove 4 hours to Peter's hometown to celebrate with his family. I was uneasy the whole ride. I knew his mom would pull something, but I told myself it was Jack's day and I'd be the bigger person. The party was at Peter's childhood home. His mom had decorated the living room with balloons and a Spider-Man theme, Jack's favorite. I was helping Jack open presents when I heard the front door open. I turned and saw Allison walk in holding a gift bag. She smiled at me like we were old friends. I froze. I looked for Peter, but he was in the kitchen. I didn't want to cause a scene, not in front of Jack. So I swallowed my anger and focused on my son. We played tag in the backyard. We built a Lego set together. I kept glancing at the door, waiting for Peter to come out. He didn't. The cake was set on the table. My mother-in-law was handing out plates. People were starting to sing. I looked around, still no Peter. And Allison was gone too. My stomach dropped. I told Jack I'd be right back and I walked into the house. The bedrooms were upstairs. I knew which one was Peter's old room. I climbed the stairs with my heart pounding. The door was open a crack. I pushed it. They were half naked, pulling at each other's clothes. Peter had his back to me, but Allison saw me. Her eyes went wide. Peter turned and his face drained of color. I didn't scream. I just stared for maybe 2 seconds, then turned around and walked back down the stairs. I went straight to the cake table and smiled. I cut the cake. I handed slices to everyone. I sang happy birthday to Jack. I helped him open Allison's gift, some video game, and I said, "Wasn't that nice of Aunt Allison?" My hands were shaking, but I didn't let anyone see. 20 minutes later, Peter and Allison came downstairs looking flustered. Peter pulled me into the kitchen. He was angry. He said, "You cut the cake without me. That was disrespectful to the family." I looked him in the eye. "I'm sorry, I just thought you'd be too busy getting into your ex-wife's pants." He went pale again. I turned around, called for Jack, and told him we were leaving. Jack asked why. I said, "Daddy isn't feeling well." We grabbed our bags and drove to the hotel. I told Jack we were having a special night, just the two of us. We ordered pizza and watched cartoons until he fell asleep. Then I sat in the bathroom and cried. Peter called me 12 times that night. I didn't answer. I texted him, "I saw everything, we're done." He texted back, "It's not what you think, we were just talking." She was upset about something. I didn't reply. The next morning I drove back home with Jack. I called my boss and said I needed a few days off. I started looking for a lawyer. Over the next week, Peter bombarded me with texts. He admitted it was a mistake. He said Allison came onto him. He said his mother had planned the whole thing, that Allison was supposed to talk some sense into him. He said he was sorry, that he'd go to therapy, that he'd cut off his family. I told him I needed space. On the 3rd day, I got a call from Jack's school. His teacher said he'd been crying at recess, saying Daddy and Dad were fighting. I picked him up early and took him for ice cream. He asked if we were going to divorce. I told him we'd figure it out. That night, I went through Peter's phone records. I'd saved one of his old bills. I found dozens of texts between him and Allison going back months. They were flirtatious, explicit. He'd been telling her he missed her, that he'd made a mistake leaving her. She'd been encouraging him. I called my lawyer the next morning. He said I had a strong case for divorce and custody of Jack since the adoption was through the state. My rights were equal. But then the really messed up part happened. 2 weeks later, Allison showed up at my house. She was crying. She said she was pregnant. And she said the baby might be Peter's. I told her to leave. She said she needed to tell me the truth. She and Peter had been having sex for over a year. She said she'd never stopped loving him. She said his family had been pushing them together the whole time. I slammed the door and called Peter. He denied it at first. Then he said it only happened a few times. I was confused. I asked him if Allison was the only one. He said yes. I asked him if Jack was even mine biologically. He went quiet. I'd always assumed Jack was adopted from the foster system, but after Peter's silence, I started digging. I found Jack's original birth certificate. The father's name was blank, but the mother's name, Allison S. I called my lawyer again. He arranged a DNA test for me and Jack. It came back 99.9% Jack was not mine biologically, but it also came back that Peter and Allison were Jack's biological parents. They had put him up for adoption when he was born, and then Peter adopted him back after we got married. I was never told. I felt sick. I had been raising Jack, the son of my husband and his ex-wife, for 2 years, and no one thought to tell me. Peter moved out. I filed for divorce. I also filed for custody of Jack. My lawyer argued that I was his legal parent by adoption and that removing me from his life would be traumatic. The judge agreed to temporary visitation. Allison showed up to court with Peter's mother. They tried to paint me as unstable. But I had texts, phone records, and a witness from the birthday party who had seen them go upstairs. The last time I saw Peter was in the courthouse hallway. He said he was sorry. He said he wanted to fix this. I told him he could fix it by signing over his parental rights so I could keep Jack. He said no, I'm still fighting. Jack lives with me 3 weeks a month. Peter and Allison have supervised visitation. Peter's family has cut me off completely. They call me a homewrecker. I don't care anymore. All I care about is Jack. He's been through therapy. He still calls me dad, and I'm never letting him go. That's my story. I wish I could say I saw it coming, but love makes you blind. Just not blind enough to miss a naked ex-wife in your husband's childhood bedroom. I thought I had it bad, but hell, the workplace can be a battlefield too. Let me tell you about my situation at work that went completely off the rails. I have chronic pain. Not the kind you can see, not the kind that shows up on an x-ray. It's the kind where every single day feels like you've pulled a muscle and it hurts to move. Some days I'm at a 6 on the pain scale, and on a good day maybe a 4. Rare blessed days I'm at a 2 or 3, and those are the days I actually feel human. I use canes when I need them. I have a handicap placard on my car. I have all the proper paperwork filed with my job. I went through the whole legal process to get my disability recognized. I did everything by the book. I work 2 jobs. My main one is full-time, and my second one is part-time as an assistant coordinator. I took the second job because I like staying busy and it helps with my anxiety. The money is nice too, but honestly, I just like the work. I was recently moved to a new location closer to my home. The team there was great. My boss Amy was amazing, and there was this colleague named Casey. Casey and I got along okay at first. We were both assistant coordinators, but Casey wanted a promotion badly. Everyone knew it. I was open that I didn't want any promotion. My position was already perfect for what I needed. I didn't want to go full-time because I already had a full-time job. This was just my side gig to pad my savings. Casey didn't like that. She thought I was in her way. It started with little comments. You don't seem that disabled to me. I saw you walking fine yesterday. Stuff like that. I ignored it at first. I figured she was just frustrated about the promotion. But then it escalated. One Sunday I was having a really bad pain day. I was at a solid 7 or 8 on the scale. I used my cane to get around. I parked in the handicap spot. I did everything I was supposed to do, and then I saw Casey's car in the parking lot. She wasn't supposed to be working that day. I went inside and there she was. She was hiding behind a shelf with her phone out. She was filming me. I asked her what she was doing. She said she was documenting my movements to prove I wasn't really disabled. She said she was going to show HR that I was faking it. She said I was a fraud. I stood there with my cane shaking in my hand. Pain was radiating up my spine, and this woman was filming me like I was a criminal. I told Amy about it the next day. Amy was furious. She called Casey into the office. Casey denied everything at first. Then she admitted she'd been following me for weeks. She'd been taking video of me outside of work. She'd been taking pictures of me getting out of my car. She even followed me to the grocery store once. I felt violated. Here I was, a black woman with a disability living in Texas. I already had to deal with enough crap, and now a coworker was stalking me to prove I wasn't disabled enough. Amy suspended Casey pending an investigation, but that's when things got worse. Casey started calling me at home. She left voicemails saying she was going to expose me. She texted me screenshots of videos she'd taken. She said she was going to post them online. I went to the police. They told me there wasn't much they could do. They said it was a workplace issue. They said if she showed up at my house then they could help, but until then it was out of their hands. I was terrified. I started checking over my shoulder everywhere I went. I changed my routine. I stopped going to the grocery store at the same time. I even considered moving. Amy did everything she could. She escalated it to corporate. She filed a formal complaint. She tried to get a restraining order for me through the company. But Casey kept finding ways around it. The update came about a week ago. Casey was officially fired, but that didn't stop her. She showed up at my apartment complex with another coworker who had taken her side. They were standing in the parking lot filming me as I came home from work. I called the cops. They finally showed up. Casey and her friend were told to leave, but Casey made eye contact with me and said, "This isn't over. I'm looking for a new job now. I'm also looking for a new apartment. I'm scared. I didn't ask for this. I just wanted to work my 2 jobs and live my life." But apparently existing while disabled is a crime to some people. If you think that's bad, wait until you hear what my ex did to me. And I mean ex from a 9-year relationship. His name was Nate. We met in high school. I was 17, he was 16. We were together for 9 years, 9 years of my life. I gave him everything. I helped him through his depression. I helped him keep his grades up. I worked 2 jobs so he could focus on college when his parents disowned him for 3 years because they didn't agree with his major. I was also a college student myself, but I made it work because I loved him. When his parents finally started talking to him again and started supporting him financially, we got a new apartment. Nate told me he wanted to take care of me. He said I should quit my job. I didn't. I kept working because I wanted to be independent. For 16 months, everything was amazing. He spoiled me. We were happy. Then I noticed he was more interested in his new friends. He started ignoring me. I'd make dinner and he'd be on his phone. I'd try to talk to him and he'd give one-word answers. Then December came. He love-bombed me. I'm talking full-blown, over-the-top romance. He made me a photo album of our 9 years together. He took me to my favorite restaurant 3 times. He bought me a necklace I'd been eyeing for months. He made Christmas magical. I thought he was going to propose on January 2nd. I had it all planned out in my head. We'd been together 9 years. We'd talked about marriage. It made sense. He made me my favorite dinner. He lit candles. He gave a speech about me being his first love, how I'd been there since high school, how he couldn't imagine his life without me. I was practically crying with happiness. And then he said, "But I don't see you as my wife. I see you as a good girlfriend. That's all you'll ever be to me." My world ended right there at that dinner table. He kept talking, but I couldn't hear anything. All I could hear was my own heartbeat and the words "good girlfriend" echoing in my head. He packed my things for me. He said I had to move out. He gave me 2 weeks. After 9 years, I got 2 weeks. I found out later that he had been cheating on me with a coworker. He ended our 9-year relationship for her. He told her he was madly in love with her. He said he'd been waiting for the right moment to leave me. This woman didn't even like him. She called him a piece of trash. She told him if he ever spoke to her again, she'd file a harassment complaint. He reached out to me 7 months later. He said he needed to get something off his chest. He wanted to talk. I agreed to meet him at a coffee shop. He looked terrible. He'd lost weight. His eyes were bloodshot. He told me the coworker rejected him. He said he'd made a huge mistake. He said I was the best thing that ever happened to him. He said he wanted me back. I sat there and listened. Then I stood up. I said, "You had 9 years to see me as wife material. You didn't. You chose someone else and she didn't even want you. I'm not your backup plan." He started crying in the middle of the coffee shop. People were staring. I just walked out. He's been texting me ever since. He says he still loves me. He says he's changed. He says he wants to prove himself. I blocked him last week. I can't go back. I can't undo the 9 years I wasted on him, but I can make sure I don't waste another second. Last I heard, he was trying to get a job at the same company as me. I'm not sure if I'm overreacting, but I filed a complaint with HR just in case. Sometimes the people you trust the most end up being the ones who hurt you the worst. I learned that the hard way. Speaking of trust, let me tell you about what happened to me. My name is Peter. No, not the cheating Peter. I'm the one who got cheated on. I'm 27, gay, married to a man named Peter for 3 years, together for 6 before that. He's 37, bisexual, and has an ex-wife named Allison. We have a son, Jack, who's 7. We adopted him after we got married, and I love him like my own blood. I had no problem with Peter's bisexuality. I had no problem with Allison being in his past. But I had a huge problem with his family. They're homophobic. They never approved of our marriage. They always told Peter he should get back together with Allison, have a real family. 2 weeks ago, it was Jack's birthday. We went to Peter's hometown to celebrate with his family. I didn't want to go, but Peter said it would be good for Jack to see his grandparents. I agreed. Huge mistake. My mother-in-law Linda decided it would be a great idea to invite Allison. She showed up right in the middle of the party. I saw her walk in and my stomach dropped. But I didn't want to ruin Jack's day. I stayed quiet. I spent the whole time with Jack, playing with him and his cousins, eating cake, opening presents. I was on high alert watching where Peter was, but I tried to focus on my son. When it was time to cut the cake, I noticed Peter and Allison were gone. I asked around. No one had seen them. I went inside the house. I checked the living room, the kitchen, the bathroom. Then I went upstairs. I heard muffled sounds from Peter's old bedroom. I opened the door. They were half undressed. Peter was shirtless. Allison was unbuttoning her jeans. They froze when they saw me. I stood there for maybe 5 seconds. Then I closed the door and walked back downstairs. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I went back to Jack and helped him cut the cake. I smiled for the photos. I thanked the guests. About an hour later, Peter and Allison came downstairs separately. Peter found me in the backyard. He pulled me aside and lit into me. He said I was disrespectful for cutting the cake without him. He said I should have waited. He said I was trying to make him look bad in front of his family. I looked him straight in the eye and said, "I'm sorry. I just thought you'd be too busy getting into your ex-wife's pants." He went white. He opened his mouth, but nothing came out. I walked away, grabbed Jack and left. I drove to the hotel. I put Jack to bed, then I sat on the bathroom floor and cried silently so I wouldn't wake him. The next morning, Peter showed up at the hotel room. He was crying. He said he was sorry. He said Allison had cornered him, that she'd kissed him first, that he was weak. I told him to go away. He didn't. He stayed in the hallway for 2 hours, begging me to open the door. I called the front desk and had security remove him. I went back to our house, not Peter's family's, and packed my things. I took Jack to my sister's place. I filed for divorce the next day. That's when the crazy really started. Peter's family started calling me. Linda left voicemails saying I was ruining Peter's life, that he was confused, that I should give him another chance. She said Allison had always been the right woman for him. She said Jack needed a mother. I wanted to scream. Jack had to father me. I was his parent. But to them, a gay man couldn't be a real parent. Then Allison started calling me. She said she was sorry. She said she didn't mean to break up our marriage. She said Peter had pursued her. Then she changed her story. She said Peter had been texting her for months. She said they had been having an emotional affair. She said it was my fault for not being man enough to satisfy him. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I hung up. Then the stalking started. I'd see Peter's car parked outside my sister's house at night. I'd get texts from unknown numbers saying I was a homewrecker. I found a note on my windshield that said, "Go back to your own kind." I went to the police. They said it was a civil matter. They said unless Peter threatened me physically, they couldn't do anything. They suggested I get a restraining order. I did. It took 2 weeks to get a temporary order. During those 2 weeks, Peter showed up at my sister's door. He said he wanted to see Jack. I told him to leave. He said he had a right to see his son. I reminded him that Jack was adopted by both of us, and until the divorce was final, he had legal rights. I let Jack talk to him on the porch for 5 minutes, supervised. Peter looked at me with those sad eyes and said, "I still love you." I made a mistake. I said, "You made a choice, now live with it." A month later, I got served with papers. Peter was suing for joint custody of Jack. He said I was an unfit parent. He cited my emotional instability and hostility toward his family. I hired a lawyer. We went to court. The judge asked Peter why he thought I was unfit. Peter said I wouldn't let him see Jack. My lawyer pointed out that I had allowed supervised visitation. Then my lawyer asked Peter about the affair. Peter said it was a one-time mistake. Then my lawyer asked Allison to testify. Allison took the stand. She looked nervous. She said that she and Peter had been seeing each other for 6 months before the birthday party. She said Peter had told her he was going to leave me. She said he had promised to marry her again. She said she'd found out she was pregnant. The courtroom went silent. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. Peter was having a baby with his ex-wife while we were married, while he was supposed to be my husband, my partner, the father of our son. Peter tried to explain. He said the baby wasn't planned. He said he was confused. He said he loved me, not Allison. The judge didn't care. She granted me full custody of Jack with supervised visitation for Peter. She said his actions showed a pattern of deceit and instability. I walked out of that courthouse feeling broken and relieved at the same time. Jack was safe. He was with me, but I had lost my marriage, my trust, and my sense of normalcy. A few days later, I found out that Allison had lied about the pregnancy. She wasn't pregnant. She had made it up to pressure Peter into leaving me. She admitted it in a text to her friend that somehow got forwarded to me. I sent the screenshot to my lawyer. We filed for a modification, but the custody order was already in place. Peter tried to apologize again. He sent flowers. He sent letters. He showed up at my new apartment. I called the police. He was arrested for violating the restraining order. He spent a night in jail. His family blamed me. They said I was being vindictive. They said I was cruel. I don't care what they think. I have Jack. I have my dignity. I will never forgive Peter for what he did. Not just the cheating, the lies, the stalking, the attempt to take my son away. That's not something you come back from. If you're reading this and wondering if you should forgive your cheating spouse, ask yourself one question. Are they still putting you through hell? If yes, run, don't look back. I thought I was overreacting at first. I mean, who would believe that a coworker would actually follow me outside of work, film me, and then try to use that footage to prove I wasn't disabled? But that's exactly what happened, and it turned my life into a nightmare faster than I could process. I'm 34, black, and I live in Texas. I have a chronic pain condition. It's not something you can see unless I'm having a really bad day and need my cane. Most days I power through. I work 2 jobs, a full-time gig and a part-time assistant coordinator position at a small office near my house. The part-time job was supposed to be a nice way to pad my savings and keep busy. Busy helps with my anxiety. I love my team there, especially my boss Amy. She's understanding, fair, and always has my back. Then there's Casey. Casey and I are both assistant coordinators, same position, but Casey wanted a promotion bad, everyone knew it. I made it clear I didn't want the full-time spot. I already had a full-time job. I was just there to help out and earn extra cash. But Casey saw me as competition anyway. She'd make little comments about how I was always taking breaks or moving slow. I brushed it off. I figured she was just stressed. I have a handicap placard for my car. I've got all the paperwork filed with HR in case I need accommodations. I don't use my cane every day, only when my pain level hits a 7 or above. On a normal day, I'm at a 6. Imagine pulling a muscle in your back, that dull ache that's always there. That's my baseline. Some days I'm at a 4, which feels like a miracle. On those days I walk fine, I do my job, I laugh with coworkers. Casey saw me on a good day and decided I was lying. It started small. She'd ask, "Oh, you're not using your cane today, feeling better?" I'd explain that my condition fluctuates. She'd nod, but I could see the doubt in her eyes. Then one Monday morning I came in using my cane. Casey looked at me and said, "Wow, you were fine on Saturday. I saw you at the grocery store walking just fine." I told her that Saturdays are usually my best days because I rest all Friday night. She didn't believe me. The next week, I found out she'd been following me. She took video of me outside of work, when I was walking to my car, when I was at a park with my niece, when I was getting gas. She edited it together and showed it to Amy, claiming I was faking my disability to get special treatment. Amy called me into her office and showed me the footage. I felt sick. There I was, laughing with my niece, walking without a limp on a good day. Casey had captioned it, "See, no pain at all." I explained to Amy that chronic pain isn't constant. I showed her my medical records, my doctor's notes, my handicap placard registration. Amy believed me. She told Casey to delete the footage and stop harassing me. But Casey didn't stop. She started telling other coworkers that I was a fraud. She'd whisper in the break room. People started giving me weird looks. One guy asked me, "So are you really disabled or just lazy?" I reported it to HR. They said they'd look into it. Then Casey escalated. She showed up at my apartment complex one evening. She filmed me taking out the trash. She sent that video to the entire team group chat with the message, "Proof she's not disabled. She can carry a trash bag just fine." I was livid. I went to the police. They said since she wasn't threatening me, it was a civil matter. They told me to talk to my employer. Amy suspended Casey pending an investigation, but Casey's friends in the office started a campaign against me. They said I was playing the victim. They said I was the one who was hostile. I started getting anonymous emails from fake accounts telling me to quit. I felt like I was being gaslit. Then the final straw. I found a note on my windshield: "Fake disabled people should be exposed. You're not welcome here." It was typed, no signature. I went straight to the police again. This time they took it more seriously because it could be considered stalking and harassment. They said they'd talk to Casey. I took a leave of absence. I couldn't handle the stress. The pain got worse. My doctor increased my medication. I started therapy. And then I got a call from Amy. Casey had been fired. HR found other evidence. She'd been accessing my personnel files without authorization, trying to dig up dirt on my medical history. The company gave her a final warning, but then she posted about me on social media, tagging the company. That was the last straw, but the damage was done. I had panic attacks every time I thought about going back. I eventually resigned. Casey never apologized. She still posts on her social media about how she stood up to a faker and she's a hero. I have a lawyer now. I'm suing her for invasion of privacy, defamation, and emotional distress. It's going to take months, maybe years. But I'm not going to let her get away with this. I still have bad days. Chronic pain doesn't care about your feelings, but I'm learning to trust my own body again, not someone else's judgment. If you're reading this and you have an invisible disability, don't let anyone convince you that your pain isn't real. And if someone films you without your consent, call the police. Get a lawyer, protect yourself. That story hit me hard, but it also reminded me of another nightmare, a different kind of betrayal, one that lasted 9 years. I'm a 27-year-old woman, and until January I was with my ex, Nate, for 9 years. High school sweethearts. I was 18 when we started dating. He was 17. We grew up together. I thought we would grow old together. Nate had a rough patch in college. His parents disowned him for choosing a major they didn't approve of. They cut him off financially for nearly 3 years. During that time, I worked 2 jobs to keep us afloat. I was also a college student, but I made sure he could focus on his classes. I helped him with his grades, talked him out of depression, held his hand through every breakdown. When his parents finally came back around and started supporting him again, he said it was his turn to take care of me. We moved into a nicer apartment. For 16 months, he spoiled me. Dinners out, surprise gifts, weekend trips. It felt like a fairy tale. Then I noticed he was pulling away. He was more interested in his new friends from his part-time job. He'd ignore my texts. He'd come home late. I convinced myself I was being paranoid. December came and he did a complete 180. He love-bombed me. He made Christmas magical, a tree with all my favorite ornaments, a handmade dinner, a playlist of our songs. I honestly thought he was going to propose on January 2nd. He made me my favorite dinner that night, gave a speech about how I was his first love, how I'd been there since high school. I kept waiting for him to get down on one knee. Instead, he broke up with me. He said I was a great girlfriend, but that's all I'd ever be to him, a girlfriend. He didn't see me as wife material. He said it as if he were doing me a favor. I sat there frozen, my fork in midair. He kept talking, but I couldn't hear him over the ringing in my ears. I excused myself, went to the bathroom, and threw up. Then I packed a bag and left while he was still sitting at the table. I spent the next few months trying to piece myself together. I blocked him on everything. I went no contact. I started therapy. I was finally starting to feel like myself again when a mutual friend told me the real reason Nate dumped me. He had a crush on a coworker, a woman named Jenna. He confessed his love to her immediately after breaking up with me. He told her he'd ended a 9-year relationship to be with her. She laughed in his face. She called him a piece of trash and told him if he ever spoke to her again, she'd report him to HR. He was devastated. He started texting me from unknown numbers, begging for another chance. I ignored him. Then he showed up at my apartment. He said he needed to get something off his chest. He said he made the biggest mistake of his life. He said Jenna wasn't worth it. He said I was the one he really loved. I told him to leave. He didn't. I called the police. They told him to stay away, but they didn't arrest him. Now he stalks my social media. He sends me long emails from accounts I keep blocking. He even reached out to my mom and asked her to convince me to talk to him. My mom told him to get lost. I'm moving soon. I'm changing my phone number. I'm done with men who think they can discard me like trash and then pick me back up when their new toy doesn't work out. I was his girlfriend for 9 years. I was his support system, his bank, his therapist. And he threw it all away for a coworker who didn't even want him. If you're ever with someone who makes you feel like you're not enough, leave before you waste 9 years, because they'll never see your value until you're gone. And by then, you'll be too far ahead to care.